Welcome to the Hollywood Persona Podcast. Here are your hosts, Mitch and Ant.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 58 of the Hollywood Persona. It is the 25th of May. I'm here with Ant. How are you, bud?
What's up, Mitch? I'm doing great. We
Good.
got some movies to talk about. Some we've both seen, some we both haven't. But yeah, let's do this.
Yeah, we're gonna. Ant has already seen Furiosa, but he is kindly gonna not talk about it because we will be back together on Sunday to talk about Furiosa and a couple others. But today we're gonna talk about some smaller movies that I think deserve to be talked about, like Last Stop in Yuma County, which is the new Jim Cummings movie. He didn't direct it, but he's in it. The Fall Guy, which just came out on streaming. Not really a small movie, but with Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt. Challengers, the Zendaya tennis movie. I saw the TV Glow. I didn't see the TV Glow. That's the movie. The movie is called I Saw the TV Glow. Ant saw that, and I saw a little foreign language film called The Coffee Table. Which we are going to talk about at the very end of the podcast because I'm just going to spoil it. I will give my brief thoughts, and then I'm going to spoil it and because it's one that I don't really think anyone should really rush out to see, and Ant's not going to watch it, so we're going to have a discussion about it, him not having seen it.
Yeah, and I might watch it. I have it on the TV now.
Yeah,
and I'll let it play through. It's had a lot of hype and voice. I've seen lots of TikTok videos of people saying, "Oh my god, this is the craziest movie you've ever seen," and
yeah,
some other podcasts have brought it up. So yeah, we'll talk about that. That's The Coffee Table.
Yeah. So where do you want to stop? Do you want to? Where do you want to start? Do you want to start at the Last Stop?
Yeah, let's do that. That's what we've both seen.
Yes.
So
yeah, go ahead.
All right, yeah. So, like you said, Jim Cummings, who you guys would remember him from The Wolf of Snow Hollow.
Yeah, Thunder Road.
And then he was in that one that Anderson from the Film Vault loved recently.
The Beta Test.
The Beta Test. So he's like a kind of goofy buffoon, but he's got like a very square jaw. He's handsome and tall. He looks like any small city in North America cop or like an attorney or a finance bro. Like he just has this look, but he's in those movies he's very very a bumbling idiot, and like it's he has a strong comedic sense to him. But this one, not really. This isn't really a comedy. So all right, so this is Last Stop in Yuma County, directed by Francis Galuppi, who is new to me. They have he has a couple other movies, but I haven't heard of them. And so this has so Jim Cummings is the lead actor here. Jocelyn Donahue, who you knew her from something?
Actually, you know what? I didn't look into what I knew these people from, but I recognized pretty much every single person.
This movie has like all actors. You're like, I know that guy from that thing. So she was in Dr. Sleep, Furious 7, Insidious 2. So yeah, so that's her. Yes. She's the female lead. She's pretty much the only woman in this movie, kind of. Faison Love. That's about it for the people you recognize. Anyone else you want to
Richard
call out?
Brake is he's like the main bad guy in this one. He's been pretty great. You might know him from Batman Begins, Kingsman, Barbarian.
He was the bad dad in Barbarian, and then Mandy, he plays the psycho LSD guy.
Yes, that was kind of his big, like, I think, coming out into the indie world, and I've seen him in a lot of indies since.
You know what else he was in that I just rewatched recently for no good reason? Doom, the movie adaptation of the movie of the game Doom. Yeah,
I've seen a lot of movies he's been in.
And you'll have that way with this movie.
He was in Strangers Chapter 1. Apparently, he was the sheriff.
That's right.
Oh, okay.
I knew I had seen him recently. No wonder.
So it's honestly it's a who's who of like character actors. The one guy that I wanted to bring up, who I love this guy.
Is it the older man?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The older guy. Yes, here he is. Gene Jones. He was just really good in Killers of the Flower Moon. But you'd know him from No Country for Old Men, The Hateful Eight. He's just kind of that character actor that he's so good. I love.
And wasn't
I
he
love
in that musical that you liked, or that I went to see? It was that female singer. It was a waitress. Was he the? No, it looks like he wasn't.
I don't think he was. No, but you're talking about Waitress.
Yeah. Do you remember you saw Waitress, the musical, right? There's an old man that comes in as a regular, and he sits down.
Yeah, I don't think it's him.
It's not. It looks just like him. But anyway, so last stop in Yuma County, Yuma County.
Yes.
Is so here's just the plot summary. While awaiting the next fuel truck at a middle of nowhere Arizona rest stop, a traveling young knife salesman, so kind of think Cutco knives, he's thrust into a high-stake hostage situation by the arrival of two similarly stranded bank robbers with no qualms about using cruelty to protect their blood-stained cash. So this is like a Tarantino-ish, Tarantino-light, Tarantino-esque style, right?
Yeah, Coen Brothers.
Coen Brothers, good call. This is one location for the most part, bunch of characters that all have different motivations in a tense situation and got to figure shit out.
And some of them don't know they're in a tense situation. A lot of them are just... So, like he kind of said in the description, there's this gas station and people keep pulling up, and the guy at the counter has to keep coming out and saying, we don't have any gas. We're waiting on a fuel truck. The next gas station is 100 miles away. So if you can't make it there, you're going to have to wait in our diner. So the diner slowly just starts to fill up with regular people. And two of them are bank robbers who have recently robbed a bank. Their car may or may not be known to some people.
Right. At the very beginning, we hear a radio description of, there was a bank robbery, green Pinto, whatever.
Yeah.
So we know a character or two might know that.
Yeah.
And Jim Cummings comes to get gas. He's trying to go meet he's a stepdad. He's trying to go meet with his daughter that's a couple hours away. And I do want to also mention that the director is also the producer, writer, and editor. So this is this person's baby, Francis.
And that's right up Jim Cummings', wheelhouse. That's in his wheelhouse because that's what he's done his whole career. He's made a life out of just he doesn't want to sell out. He doesn't want to be, become the big budget guy.
Right. He's perfectly happy making his movies, and I think he's great in them.
And so that's probably why he believed in this script and took the role, because he doesn't do this very often, where he just takes this big juicy role. But he's in the whole movie. He's the main character. And it's not his movie. Usually he only does that with his films.
Right. His past three, I think, have all been his movies.
So that's why I thought it was a Jim Cummings movie that I just hadn't heard about. I was like, oh, I guess he's dropping this out of nowhere. But
So I'll give you my thoughts. So I really enjoyed this movie quite a bit. It's one that I mentioned this to Mitch before that, back in the day, this would definitely be in theaters. I would have loved to seen this in the theater with a crowd of people, because it has some cool. You said it goes in unexpected directions. I guess that's a better way to say than it has twists. It doesn't really have twists, I would say, but characters do things where you're like, oh, I didn't think they would do that,
Yeah.
Because we've seen lots of movies where people are think of the beginning of Pulp Fiction. This is kind of like the beginning of Pulp Fiction, actually, just stretched out to a full movie. So they're all waiting for gas. The bank robbers are also, apparently there's no other gas station within 100 miles, which, you got to have that to have the movie, but that seemed a little suspect. But I don't know, maybe out west, driving to California,
Yeah.
it is that sparse with gas stations. But I think this is really good and enjoyable because it's not just your typical, oh, I know that this person will get saved because they're a girl or a mom or whatever,
or there's a connection here, so this person's going to do this, or everyone here is going to do the right thing.
And characters, and I like it because some characters, especially at the end, which I won't reveal, make a decision where you want them to. You're always watching a movie and you're like, man, I would, if I ended up in this situation and I had a chance to grab this cash or something, it's like, maybe I would actually do it and try and get away with it, you know.
Yeah.
So there's an aspect to this that I liked about that.
Yeah.
I would say it's filmed well enough. I didn't necessarily notice any particularly long takes or frantic camera movement or anything like that, which is fine. Jim Cummings, like we said, he's typically comedic. In here, he's pretty not and straightforward. He's just like a scared guy. Yeah, who's stuck in this crazy situation.
Yeah.
I did have one thing that stuck out to me. So the lead actress here, Jocelyn Donahue, as soon as she shows up on screen, I'm like, this woman is way too good looking to work in this type of place, in this type of town. What I mean by that is, I'm sure there are pretty people like her, but she would look just different. She just looks so much like a star actress, right? Like her makeup, her hair, her face, like everything was perfect. You know, her uniform as a waitress is brand new, ironed. Like they should have roughed it up and rubbed it in the dirt. And she's married to the sheriff, which we find out right away. And he doesn't look like the type of guy that she might choose. You know, he's hitting above his weight limit to have pulled her.
She's reaching down.
Definitely. Would you agree with me, or did you not notice that?
I guess it didn't really bother me.
Yeah,
he was an odd guy.
The husband,
the sheriff. Yeah, he's every time it goes to him at his sheriff's office, he's putting like model cars together.
Yeah, I mean, it's a small town, right? And another thing I like here is, you know, I hate when the cops are really stupid and don't do the things cops would do. That's not really the case here. The cops do what they should, you know, quote, should do. They, you know, if they get a call, they call back and say, hey, why'd you call? Or did the phone hang up? What happened? You know, and then some time goes on and they're like, all right, we better go over there and see what's up. You know, they actually know, like a lot of horror movies, the cops are dumb. It's like, I guess the person didn't want to talk. Bye. And then never go back to it, you know?
I don't know what that was. Yeah.
Right.
Horror. One of the horror queens, scream queens, is in this. She has a cameo, kind of a cameo. Barbara Crampton. She was the lady manning the telephone at the sheriff's office. The older lady. She is like she was in
she's a secretary. Okay.
Reanimator, From Beyond, Chopping Mall, The Lords of Salem, like, and then she's had kind of a resurgence in the last few years.
Chopping Mall. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah.
That's a funny movie.
So she's kind of like an icon, and when I saw her, I was like, oh, that's a nice little.
Oh, that's cool. That's a nice little touch.
Everybody in this movie, like I recognize from at least one or two movies, and
she was in Your Next. I've heard that's a pretty intense horror movie.
Oh, you haven't seen that? That's a great one. That's a great one.
That's a remake, though, right? Is there an original?
No, I don't think so.
Ooh,
no.
Okay. But yeah, what did you think of the movie overall? How did it make you feel? What did you like?
Overall, I really like this movie. Like I said, I think it's better than anything the Coens have done in the last 5 to 10 years.
Yeah,
I can't remember when.
Driveway Dolls or Macbeth.
Yeah. This and Love Lies Bleeding are better Coen brothers movies than they've made in a while. And this is like it's a Tarantino Coen brothers with the Jim Cummings effect, kind of.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of humor, more like the bigger black gentleman.
Yes, he's great.
Faison Love.
Yeah, Faison Love, which I think he's.
You know him from Elf. He plays the lead, like Santa's coming kind of guy. He's the one.
Yeah, and he was in Friday, the original Friday.
Yeah, he's been in a lot of stuff. Couples Retreat.
He's that heavy-set black dude that's just jolly and funny, you know?
Yeah.
Like he'd look at white people and be like, you white people are so stupid, and it would be hilarious.
So no, I really enjoyed this. I think anybody who watches this would enjoy it. I don't think unless I could see some people jumping into this and wanting a little bit more, expecting a little bit more.
Yes. Yeah. Right.
Or expect it to go a certain way, and it definitely doesn't. It's very tense, and it builds until this one scene. And once it gets to that one scene, the entire movie changes. I'm not going to say a single thing more than that, but there is one scene where you're shocked. Like you're just like, shit. Okay, well
Yeah,
that
it had
happened.
my attention. As this
Yes.
movie's building, I'm like, okay, what
Yes.
is this? Why did Mitch recommend what? My dad also saw it, he liked it. I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, this seems like a typical, and then I'm like, oh, all right, now we're in, and I'm like leaning forward for the rest of the movie.
I was in before that because actually some of the decisions made after that rubbed me the wrong way. And I know you said you found it interesting because
I did.
you see a character make decisions that you think in your head, well, I might have done the same thing, but I think that's kind of where the comedy comes in a little bit because it's like a
Because it's Jim Cummings.
yeah, it's like a Rube Gold
Rube Goldberg.
Rube Goldberg kind of event kind of thing. How it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse.
A folly of errors, one after the other.
Yeah. So and I didn't necessarily love that, but then it brought it back in that final act, which I really liked. So like after that big scene, for me it dipped a little, but then it made it
redeemed.
It redeemed itself. Yes, thank you.
And it makes like tough choices, and it doesn't hold back on them. Let me give you an example of what I mean without spoiling it. In Star Wars number 9, what was the last one called? Rise of Skywalker. In that movie, we see Chewbacca get blown up in a ship, only to realize minutes later he's alive. This movie, something bad happens to a character that you think is good and wholesome and shouldn't have something bad happen to them, and they don't pull back. That's the way the rest of the movie goes out. So I was like, phew, thank God, because we get with studio movies, with PG-13 movies made for all audiences, we just get used to stuff. It's like they're not going to hurt a kid, they're not going to kill a mom. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
they're not going to go down this road because that's too dark. And I'm
too dark.
This movie isn't necessarily like overly dark.
No, it's not dark. Really, it's not that dark.
It is. I mean, there's many deaths and whatever, but I mean, it's not like it's not the coffee table.
Right. Yeah, so it's good. This is a movie I think you
I'm
could
4
watch.
stars.
I'm 3.5. You can watch this with anyone of any age.
Yeah.
It's just a great streaming watch. What was it on? What service was it?
You can only rent it right now because it didn't really have a big theater play, if at all.
Right.
So it's only for rent. In Canada, it's on YouTube. So
okay. All right, cool. So that's Last Stop in Yuma County. So then next, what do you want to do next?
Let's talk about Challengers.
Yeah. All right, so set up Challengers.
Yeah, so I saw this most recently because, again, this is another one that just dropped on VOD, so you can rent this one now, and it is directed by Luca Guadagnino. Sorry. You will know him from the 2017 movie Call Me By Your Name, the Suspiria remake in 2018, and Bones and All, which came out. So for me, he's very hit or miss. I didn't like Bones and All. I didn't really love Call Me By Your Name as much as everyone else. I mean,
thought you would have.
It's good, but I had some issues with it. But I loved Suspiria 2018, and I think Challengers is kind of a mix for me. There's things I love and there's things I didn't.
Okay.
So anyways, what is the movie about? It is about 2 childhood friends, Patrick Zweig and Art Donaldson, played by Josh O'Connor and Mike Feist.
Yeah, Feist, I think it is.
Faist. And they are like really good friends. They're not together. They're just friends, right? But
let me see.
So essentially, they're high school best friends, and they're not.
Yes, right. They're not together. No,
they're not together. They're doing tennis, and they're getting better and better. And they meet this young girl, Tashi Duncan, played by Zendaya, who kind of inserts herself in the middle of their friendship, and it essentially becomes a movie about who's going to get the girl and what's going to happen.
I'm going to push back on that a little bit.
Okay.
It does who's going to get the girl, but it's also Zendaya. Which guy does she want?
Yes.
she has agency here, and
Yes,
she's
for
really
sure.
doing some manipulating. I think they're all manipulating, and
Yes.
it's kind
Yes,
of,
for sure.
no one here is the good guy. Like
Nope.
they all have some bad qualities, which made
Yes.
it interesting, I think. But yeah, so it's not like your 80s boner comedy, like let's just get laid. It's a throuple trying to, and it's tennis in the mix, and yeah.
It felt like
Anyways,
a real, like it felt like a real situation of two friends who meet a girl and they're both into
both,
her, and
yes,
how is that going to affect their friendship? How is that going to affect, and then what is going to happen? And all three of them are into tennis, and it
right,
also becomes about the game and your career and how hard you're going to push yourself, and um, who's there to push you, and it's about a lot of things, and
yeah. I'd even like almost say it's psychosexual, and what I mean by that is there's tons of psychological
yes,
play here, and then
yes,
there's also lots of, not there's not lots of sex in the movie. It's not like an erotic thriller, but it's um, sex is a part of it.
yeah. I have
They're,
a hard
yeah,
time calling. I had a hard time calling it erotic. I had a hard like
right,
for me, it's more like romantic in a way.
yeah, yeah,
There's definitely erotic scenes, and obviously the thing that made this movie kind of blow up when it was released in Sundance is there was pictures of and talk of a threesome scene
right,
between Zendaya and the two guys.
yeah.
And
I've heard people call this a thruple.
yeah, this is like, yeah, like this is kind of like the Twilight triangle, right? Love triangle thing that was
Yeah, yeah.
so big 10 years ago.
Very good call. It is very
Or
similar.
20 years ago now, I don't know. But this is, it's a character study. This is and it's a relationship study, and I actually ended up really enjoying it. And the tennis is well done.
Yes.
The way it's shot is really well done. The back, like, it's tennis. They don't show a ton of it. It's not like what was that?
Oh,
Coach
with
No,
Emma Stone, she did one, and then
no,
so did Steve Carell, I think.
I'm
Or
more
you thinking of
thinking
Will
of
Smith?
the Will Smith one. It's not
Richard,
like
King
that where
Richard.
it's like all about tennis. This is a
Right.
sports romance thing, and
Yeah, it's like maybe 30% tennis,
yeah,
70% the relationship drama.
yeah, and then
They're
it takes place from like basically high school to them being adults. It
right.
takes place over like, and I really like that, and I think they did that really effectively, showing them. I believed they were young in the scenes where they were young, and I believed they were adults when they were. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I
I
think so
felt like it
too.
was done really well. And Zendaya, the boys are both good, but
Yeah.
Zendaya is really great.
She
And
steals it. She steals it. If you had any question about is she good or is she
yeah,
just hot, a lot of women actresses don't always get to flex their acting because they're very pretty, so they get put in movies. Think of like Gal Gadot. She's
yeah,
beautiful,
yeah.
so she gets put in things, and
Or
turns out
Scarlett
she's not that.
Johansson at the beginning of her career, it was kind of like, oh,
Right.
look at she's pretty, let's just put her in stuff, and
And
she's
then we
one of our
find,
best
yeah,
working actresses.
yep,
So
right. And I would say I had similar kind of feelings about Zendaya because, well, kind of not really. She's been in enough stuff. I've seen her many times, but
if I
here,
hadn't seen Malcolm and Marie, I would say I wouldn't have felt like she's proved herself. But I've seen Malcolm and Marie, and she was like the only thing I liked about that movie. So this to me was even more of a surprise because in this one she didn't feel like a kid anymore. It felt like I
right.
wasn't watching a kid. It felt like
She
I'm
has
watching an
full
adult.
agency. She knows
Yes,
exactly what
yes,
she's doing. She's
yes.
playing this like a game. And I'm glad you brought up Malcolm and Marie. So, listeners, if you like Zendaya, check out Malcolm and Marie. It's a chamber piece. I liked it. I thought it was pretty cool. But it, just so you know what it is, it's Malcolm. It's Zendaya and John David Washington just arguing for 90 minutes at a house in black and white.
It made me feel things. It made me, that Malcolm and Marie made me feel a lot of things. I felt angry and frustrated and upset. And
yes,
because the acting was so good.
Yeah.
Will I ever watch it again? No. Will I recommend it to anyone? I don't think so. But if you want to see Zendaya stretch, yes, that's definitely one you need to seek out.
And so I had two friends that wrote me about Challengers, and in our conversation they said something like, oh man, Zendaya, she is so hot, isn't she? And I was like, if you like her and you like this, I said, check out Malcolm and Marie because she's basically in no clothes or see-through clothes that whole movie. So,
And it's so funny because a lot of the drive for this movie was like Zendaya, she's beautiful, everyone loves her. Look at, she's going to be in this threesome, and I feel like this movie almost like slaps you in the face with that and says, you came here for like sexual whatever, and here she is, this strong woman who basically takes charge of these guys' lives and pushes and blah blah blah.
Yeah, agreed. They definitely sold this movie on Zendaya's sex appeal for sure.
Yes.
And the movie kind of doesn't go all the way. Like we said, there's really just one-ish sex scene.
Yeah.
But it's not gross or exploitative. It's realistic. It's
titillating.
It's titillating, yeah.
Which is a weird word. Which is a word I hate. But it's like
it is. These actors are good looking, all of them, and it's shot so well. So that's one of the things I wanted to say is I love the camera work here by this director. The scene. So opening scene. We are looking at the tennis court with our opponents on left and right. Zendaya is at the center in the stands, and we are way far back. And it slowly pushes into her face to kind of get us ready and show us what this movie is going to be about.
Like through the tennis match.
Through the match and the music. I loved the score for this movie. It really had an impact on me. I really should call out who it is, but I don't know. But it gave me this is a deep cut, but you know the movie Climax?
I never saw it, but yes.
By Gaspar Noé.
The score was composed by Trent Reznor and Atticus
That's
Ross.
Right, duh. Yeah. Fuck, I knew that. So yeah, this is a super cool score. Then back to the camera work. A couple cool shots I want to mention and call out. There's a couple times they show the tennis match from under the court, as if the ground is transparent.
Yeah.
Don't know how they did that. That's really cool. You're looking up and you see the ball going back and forth and their feet, the bottom of their feet. It's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. And then another shot that was awesome was the camera becomes the ball. So we move with them across the court. And it's not, you'd think that would be dizzying, but they keep the ball straight. So yeah, I thought it was, and then the way it's filmed, or really the way it's edited, I felt like was done on purpose, like a tennis match. It goes back and forth, back and forth.
100%.
Future, past, future, past, future, past. And the first time I saw it, because I've kind of seen it 1.5 times, that confused me a little bit. I'm like, wait, what? I thought we were just 3 years. Now it's 3 months. Now, but it's really good and makes you have to pay attention. So yeah, I loved this. I thought it was excellent. And I've gotten a few people to watch it. And all the feedback I've gotten is good.
I have one friend who saw it and he really didn't like it and doesn't understand why I like it.
Do you remember what he said or she said why?
Yeah. He just said it was just, he felt like it was stupid.
Yeah, I could see this appealing more to film nerd losers like us as opposed to the general public.
And that's what he had $80 million and people are talking about it. It's got a positive. So I don't know. I feel like it's
something gave me that feeling, right? Like
it's hitting people the right way in some ways.
Yeah, and I'm glad it does. And if it excludes a few people, fine. Just because it's great. It's really good. It's entertaining. I had no idea where it was going to go.
Yeah, me neither.
There's a lot of fun in this.
I will say that like I'm at like 4 stars.
Me too.
I think it could have definitely gone higher. There was parts where I didn't love the dialogue. I didn't like the way like some of the stuff was a little melodramatic or shot weird near the beginning, more when it's dealing like with their high school life and stuff. I didn't love that. It took me a while to get pulled in. And I think if it was, I don't know, sometimes it felt like a little soapy, like a soap opera, like more. But then
good point. This could be easily reworked. Sorry to hold that thought. This could be easily be reworked to be a Lifetime movie of the week type thing. But go ahead.
Sorry, but then they completely change tracks, and it goes a completely different way. by the second half of the movie, and I was like, okay, never mind.
Yep.
I get what this is now. That was, that was like a different part of the movie. Maybe they were trying to do that to show us like, hey, this is high school. It's a little soapy. It's a little, maybe it
The
was
drama.
on
Yeah.
purpose, right?
Yeah. And maybe back to how you were saying why the general public or people might alienate. I think maybe people would expect this to be like just a who's going to get the girl. But as we said already, Zendaya is really in charge for this whole movie. She's running the show, and
it's about her.
Yeah, it's about her, and she's
Even
really
when
smart.
Even when she's not in the scene, she is influencing the scene.
Yes,
like
good
she
call.
is a game player. This could honestly, her character, like there could be a whole mini series on just her character.
Sure.
Like,
for sure.
Like because she's like something I'm like The Good Wife. It's something stupid, or like one of those TV shows. She's a powerful woman who I think like was so entertaining to watch.
Yeah,
So
she knows
like
what
if
she
there was
wants, and she's gonna get it. And and it's cool. I admire women like this who, she knows she's hot. She knows she can use her looks and appeal to get men to do what she wants.
Yeah.
And like you said, I find that entertaining to watch. So yeah, I like this movie quite a bit. It's a 4-star movie. I would definitely watch it again.
Yeah. I can't believe we talked that long about it, but I mean, and I feel like we didn't really even give anything about the story, but this story is almost here nor there. It's more about
it's like the
characters and the ride. And
it's that saying, it's not about the destination, it's about the trip or whatever.
Journey,
it doesn't matter.
Journey.
Yeah, the journey. Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, since it's been out a little while, is there anything you want to talk spoilers? If
no,
I guess let's talk. Actually, let's talk this. This isn't spoiler. Just how did you like the ending? I thought it was great, but my friends did not like the ending. So I'll say this: the ending could be interpreted as ambiguous. You're not 100% sure, but I think it tells you. I think we are sure, or maybe we're meant not to be. What do you think?
Well, I think like there's definitely one part of it that you're sure about. Like, essentially, we'll say like what sort of relationship is going to
come after.
What sort of relationship is going to win or power through, or you know what I mean? Like what the future is going to be like for these characters. And I think you can definitely take hints and stuff. I think some of it is obvious and some of it isn't.
So let's say this. Let's say this. There's a question of who ends up with who here. I think that's not a spoiler to say. I think the movie tells us who is going to be with who here, with its last shot, last scene. But the two friends that I had that watched this that aren't movie people, they both were like, "What? I didn't know who. What? How does it end? What happened? This happens, and then everyone just kind of cheers. Who gets what?" And I'm like, and then I say what I think it is. So yeah. But I could see how people wouldn't love the ending. I did though. But yeah, we can move on.
Yeah, I didn't. The ending didn't move the dial for me one way or another, honestly. But like, it was fine.
But it didn't piss you off, right?
No, it didn't bother me. No, I kind of expected something like that, honestly. But next we have The Fall Guy, which has crazily just come to VOD. I was shocked when I saw that it was already on VOD, and I never got a chance to go see it in theaters, so I jumped right on this. This is Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt, Aaron Taylor Johnson, Hannah Waddingham, Teresa Palmer, Stephanie Sue, who you will know from Everything Everywhere All at Once, Winston Duke, Ben Knight, and several others. This is a down-and-out stuntman must find the missing star of his ex-girlfriend's blockbuster film. So essentially, Ryan Gosling plays Colt Seavers. He's a stuntman, and he has this great relationship. It's kind of I didn't even get the sense that they were together, but like they were at the
beginning.
Yeah, like they were kind of like, but it was obvious they were like into each other and in love.
Yes,
and they were shooting movies together. She was a producer and he was the stuntman, and they were like kind of falling in love. He has an accident on set while doing a stunt, and he is, he kind of disappears from the world.
Yeah.
And Emily Blunt's character, Jodie Marino, she goes on to become a director for a movie. And the guy that Ryan Gosling did stunts for, Tom Ryder, played by Aaron Taylor Johnson, he goes missing. And Ryan Gosling's character is called in to try to help. And so I just watched this, so I guess I'll talk about it first. This is a very odd movie. It's
In
I
what
don't
way?
know. I just can't. Every time I think about it, I think about it. It seems to be like so many different things at once. It's overall it's like a romantic comedy. Like
Yeah, yeah.
it's like it's an action movie. Like, there's some
Action romantic
crazy set
comedy, yeah.
pieces, some crazy stunts that are really great. The I think this Oscars is going to be the first Oscars with the stunt category, so I think that this one might win. I think they did a really good job. While Furiosa might take it too, but yeah, but it's a little choppy. The movie for me was very
okay.
choppy, like tonal issues, like stop and start, and it didn't necessarily know what it wanted to be. The director, John Leach, he is known for John Wick, right?
Yeah, so so David Leitch is the director here.
Yes.
This has like heavy stunt pedigree. So David Leitch, I think, was stunt coordinator first for John Wick, the first one,
right.
And he did such a good job. He then gets promoted to direct the next one or two, something like that. Either he did one and that was his progression, and then now
he directed
got here.
Atomic Blonde,
which
Fast and
also
Furious
has awesome
movie.
stunts.
Yes. And then Bullet Train was his latest movie.
Yep.
Which I feel like this movie falls in line more with Bullet Train than it does like John Wick or Atomic Blonde. That's for sure.
Definitely.
This is based on an old TV show, and I kind of wondered if that's where my disconnect was. Like maybe I should have known something about the old TV show, but it was I don't know. There was just something odd, but I enjoyed myself. Like overall, like I had a really good time. The stunts are good. There's a lot of funny moments. I laughed, and yeah, the stunt scenes are great. Like, but the story is just all over the place. Like Hannah Waddingham comes in as like as an assistant. She seems like she seems like a character from a completely different movie. Like she felt like she was like a character from a Melissa McCarthy comedy, like Spy or something.
And same with Stephanie Sue. Like she just comes in about 1/3 of the way through and kind of comes in and out. It was this could have been tightened up. You make a good point. Make a good point.
I can't. To me, it's a lot like. Well, it's not anything like Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, but it is similar in the ways where I had issues with it, but I still think it's a good, fun movie. Like I had less issues with Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. With this one, I had a lot of issues, but I would recommend this to anyone, and I think it's a lot of fun. Emily Blunt and Ryan Gosling, how can you go wrong? They're awesome,
and they have great chemistry here. I think.
Yeah, they do have really good chemistry.
They really do.
I kept thinking like poor John Krasinski, like he has to go and sit and watch Emily Blunt kiss Ryan Gosling and watch them have this great connection for
lovingly into each other's eyes. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, and absolutely.
I think that was honestly like the best part. It was a relationship that I cared about. It was a relationship that I liked. And it was kind of new and refreshing how they handled the relationship. Like some of the stuff they did with it, the stuff at the beginning, and then like they meet up again later, and they don't do some of the tropes like the
that you see in all the other rom-coms.
Yeah, like oh, I hate you now. But they do that, but it's in a fun way.
Right,
like,
it's not evil and mean.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Just like, hey, you disappeared,
like,
so what
I'm not going to talk to you. It's more like it's fun. But anyways, What'd you think? Sorry.
So yeah, I like this movie quite a bit too. This is a good, fun action movie. A couple of things that stuck out to me were there's a lot of deep cut movie references here that were really fun.
For sure.
And those I don't think the general public will get, and maybe that's why it didn't open as well as they expected. One of the reasons why. But yeah, there's some really nice Easter eggs. They call out a lot of movies. So I thought that was cool. It got me laughing or interested a couple of times. I love how they, someone in that asks Ryan Gosling's character, do stuntmen get Oscars? And he was like, no, they need to add that category. Like, that is a conversation movie people like us have had. Yes,
for years,
forever.
Yes.
The other thing is I liked, I kind of mentioned camera work in the last 2 reviews, but this one also had a cool, I just want to call it one scene. So there's a scene where they're reconciling. Like Mitch just said, they get split, he gets hurt, they come back, and they're kind of, poking at each other to see if each other is still open to maybe doing something, or are they too hurt, they're closed off. So they're both in their own hotels, and we get a split screen. And they each do the same movements at the same time, crossing their legs, putting their feet up on the couch. And it's done at the exact same time, split screen. And I just thought that it was really creative. That was cute, creative.
David Leitch has no problem doing fun stuff with the camera. I liked what he did with that. There's actually a car chase sequence.
On the beach?
No.
Okay.
It kind of is similar to the Fast and the Furious one where they're pulling the bank vault.
Yes.
And I like the camera stuff during that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And the beach stuff and
I was gonna say the beach scene is crazy.
The poster is literally that scene and
that's right.
Right, and and I was kind of waiting for that scene to happen and see and it happens and the camera work there is good.
Yeah, really cool and creative, and you could just tell they were fun. They planned the shots out. So yeah, this is a positive movie. I did also want to say one kind of negative for me was that the murder plot, there is a murder in the movie, I'll just say, doesn't really make a whole lot of sense if you think it through. But that's kind of fine. It just doesn't make sense why the character would do what they do. Aaron Taylor Johnson, who I haven't seen in a movie recently, I thought he was pretty funny as the scumbag, super hotshot actor that maybe everyone thinks Ryan Gosling actually is. But he's your typical showboating guy who thinks he's the shit and treats everyone below him like crap. He was really funny in this. I thought
he plays his role very well.
Yeah.
He is proving that he can play a dick.
Yeah.
So,
and there was there's some fun slow motion in here, nothing like Zack Snyder level slow-mo, but a couple slow-mo shots, where like, this is a known thing where there's an action scene going on, it's moving real fast, and then all of a sudden someone's falling and the camera follows their face going, no, stuff like that. So this is good.
Yeah, I really don't have anything more to say about it.
Me neither. It's a good action movie, safe for all ages.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just, for me, it's a 3.5 because it's just above mediocre. Like, it's decent. I'd recommend it to people.
Mediocre.
Mediocre.
I think I gave it 3.5. I would.
Okay, yeah. That's The Fall Guy. It's already on streaming. It went to theaters for 17 days and then came to streaming.
Wow.
I know.
And it cost the approximate cost was 125 to 150 million. And it's only brought in 130 million worldwide.
Yeah,
as of right now.
That ain't good enough because they definitely marketed this big time. This was trailers and this was out there for marketing.
I didn't understand the hype. Like, I mean, I guess it was
neither.
But
me neither. This was the opening of summer movie season movie. Actually, here's what happened. Here's some backstory with the release date. This was originally scheduled to come out in January, February, March. This was supposed to come out in March, which I think would have been a better slot for it because it's not the big blockbuster that's going to get 50 million or 60 million, right? It's going to make 28, which is good, but it's not that great. Because of the strikes, Wolverine Deadpool was at this slot that it took, and it moved back to late July. So then they were like, oh, hey, now that we got a date open, let's position this as the start of the movie season. So, yeah, so if they had it in March, expectations probably would have been a little lower. It's pretty weird how dates and stuff can really impact who goes to see it, and then of course
Yeah.
what the studio and industry expects. So yeah, that's kind of why it feels more like a March movie.
Yeah.
You know, not a 50 million opening weekend movie, because you know, to be frank, Gosling and Blunt don't have that strong of box office opening weekend scores. You know, Blunt,
Really?
Gosling, they thought Gosling might have caught fire because of Barbie, but if we go, and maybe I'll do this for Sunday. Let me make a note for myself.
Okay.
If you go and poll, and I'll do this. So, if you go and poll all of Gosling's opening weekend movies, not all that great, which is surprising because he feels like one of our biggest stars.
I just don't think anybody has star power.
I
right
think
now.
you're right.
I just don't think, like, even Tom Cruise, like, I know everybody says like Tom Cruise still pulls people
No,
in.
but yeah, Mission Impossible didn't do that well last summer.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah, that's true.
Only if, like, yeah, you could argue him, Will Smith
Maybe
before
Zendaya
the slap
right now, maybe Tom Holland right now, but I mean, Gosling, people are like, okay, yeah, he's our biggest like movie man right now, but people. It's all word of mouth now,
Yep.
like because word of mouth is so quick.
Yep.
People hear, okay, is it good? Yeah, it's good. Okay, everyone goes to see it, right? Like even
or if it's is it just okay? Yeah, okay, I'll see it on streaming.
Right.
Like that's
like
the
Challengers had great word of mouth.
Yes,
it cost almost $50 million to make, but it still made 80 million worldwide. That's really like I can't believe it cost 50 million. But
me too.
I'm
surprised.
I can't believe it made all that back. Like
that
seems like a December movie that is well received, but doesn't make a ton of money.
Kind of like a Poor Things, where it's like people love it, but it doesn't blow up the box office.
Yeah.
So all right,
tell us why the TV is glowing.
Okay, let me tell you about this movie.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is called I Saw the TV Glow. It is
an
A24. Yes, I saw it and the TV glowing.
Sorry.
So this is Jane Schoenbrunn, and she did We're All Going to the World's Fair, which was an indie horror darling and hit that I couldn't stand. I thought was so stupid, and I didn't see why people loved it. We're All Going to the World's Fair. It's an
allegory on like depression and being young and all that stuff, and it's I can see why
being careful what you do on the internet. It's just I just didn't like it. I just didn't. It's it reminded me kind of Skinamarink, where but
they were very similar.
But that is We're All Going to the World's Fair. This is I Saw the TV Glow. So this gives us Justice Smith, who has come up a lot on this podcast.
You are not a fan.
And I am not a fan of him at all. He is best known for Jurassic World
1 and 3.
Fallen Kingdom, I think. I don't think he was in...
No, he wasn't in 1. You're right. 2 and 3 he was in. Yeah. Sorry.
He's the screaming guy who's afraid of everything, yet he goes on this crazy dangerous trip. It's so stupid and annoying. He's just awful. He was also in Detective Pikachu, Paper Towns. He was in The Voyeurs with Sydney Sweeney. He was in that new Dungeons and Dragons movie. He played the kind of bumbling, silly sidekick, like, what happens if I step here? Or don't press the red button. He was that guy in that movie. He was also in the American Society of Magical Negroes, which was terrible.
I never saw that,
Yeah, I saw it. I think I mentioned it on this podcast. It was trying to take a poke of the mystical, magical Negro trope. You know that?
Right.
Where, black people in movies are always the magical fixer friend. So it was trying to lampoon that, but it definitely didn't. So, all right, so that's Justice Smith. It also has Bridget Lundy Payne, who I didn't recognize, but she was in Bombshell, Downsizing, Glass Castle with Brie Larson, which I did see. Action Point, which I did see. Wow, so I've seen most of the movies she's been in, but I didn't recognize her. She kind of has this I'm a badass, emo, chic chick look.
Like me.
Yeah, like a girl version of Mitch. Then we have, that's about it. Fred Durst plays Justice Smith's father in this.
Okay.
He only has, I think, one line, though, but you do see him a couple times. That was quite a surprise to see. And that's about it for recognizable names. But so, here's the plot summary. Teenager Owen, so that's Justice Smith, is just trying to make it through life in the suburbs when his classmate introduces him to a mysterious late-night TV show, a vision of the supernatural world beneath their own. In the pale glow of the television, Owen's view of reality begins to crack. So what this is for the misanthropes. This is for emo kids aged 11 to 21. This will speak to some people deeply, for sure. It doesn't so much to me, but I can recognize what it's going for. So they're obsessed with this show that's very similar to Nickelodeon, Nick at Night, Are You Afraid of the Dark? Those type of shows. Clarissa Explains It All that. Dude Ranch, all this like bad.
What is Nick at Night? I've heard this twice now.
The kids channel in the United States in the 90s that was huge is called Nickelodeon. So at night they did Nick at Night, where they did Goosebumps, Are You Afraid of the Dark? Some like kind of quote scary programming, but it was all really silly.
I don't remember
that was Nick at Night. Actually, wait, Nick at Night might have been when they ran the old shows like I Love Lucy. Anyway, that's what it is. You're
not the first person to bring this up because I can't remember Nick at Night. But anyway, continue.
So Mitch, think of any show you watched intently as a adolescent, 12, 13, that you were just obsessed with. You would come home from school and turn it on, or every Saturday night you would watch it with your siblings. It's that kind of thing. So they become obsessed with the show. She's 2 years older than him. He is of a mixed race family. She is from a abusive family. We don't see necessarily any abuse, but she has a comment about if my dad catches you here, he'll break my nose again. So we hear that. So that's the surface of it. It's very well shot and beautiful. I cannot take that away from it. The neon here, it's just tons and tons of cool shots. But I did have some problems with it. So they become obsessed with the TV show, and this is shown in the trailer, the line between the show and their real lives begins to blur. They think they're in the show. One of them thinks they're in the show. Maybe they were in the show. Like, what's really, going on in reality here? The young character that plays Justice Smith, so we meet him when he's like 10 or 11, and then we meet him, and then, time passes and we get to him as Justice Smith. Looks nothing like him at all. Totally different hair. He's even darker skinned than Justice Smith. And so it was like shocking. I'm like, they want to pass this kid off as Justice Smith. Is unbelievable. See if you can pull it up while we're talking. Okay. It's either Ian Foreman or Connor O'Malley. Just look at the cast list and see if you can figure out the young version of Justice Smith. He looks nothing like him. So that really threw me out. There's just tons of nostalgia in here for 90s stuff. There's Fruitopia. I don't know if you ever drank that as a kid. That was a beverage that was popular here, kind of like Snapple. There's a lot of fourth wall breaking, and it just doesn't earn it. It took me out. They look at the camera and start talking, and I just didn't like it. This reminds me very much of the show called Daria. Did you know the show Daria? TV series.
Oh yeah, yes.
Long black hair, kind of like crossed arms, animated. Yes. Like everything sucks, man.
Yeah.
This reminds me just like that show, and and our main actress here, and everything the actress says is the most serious thing ever. She never smiles. She's monotone. She talks so slow. When she said she watched the show last night. It was infuriating. Cool effects. There's some really cool special effects and creature feature stuff here.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Not necessarily as a horror sense, but let me give you an example. When you were a kid and you watch something and it scares the shit out of you, and then maybe you go back to it as an adult and you're like, oh my God, that's just a mask and a red nose on Pennywise the Clown. You see that it's really not scary at all. You were just a kid. They do this with the show. There's some villains in it who look really creepy, and then later we see them watching it as an adult, and it looks just like, oh, that's just a guy wearing a clown costume,
Yeah.
But there are some other visual effects that happen kind of in the quote real world that are good. So good effects, definitely worth it there. Just it felt a little tedious. So I'm gonna wrap it up and just say that this is between a 2.5 and 3 star. Like, I think I put it just barely positive as a 3 star. But if you were an emo kid, you have to see this movie. If you were ever someone that always wears black, or if you ever painted your fingernails black, you got to watch it. It might connect with you. I've listened to a few reviews, and there's some people out there that love this movie. And last thing, there's some people saying that this is a trans allegory or a gay allegory, talking about the pressure of coming out or not knowing what to come out. You see in the trailer, this sentence is said in the trailer. She goes, well, so what, do you like girls or boys? And he goes, I don't know, I just like TV. And then they move on to the next thing. So yeah, and I'll say there is no romantic or hinting at it. They never want each other in the movie. She's a couple years older, so she sees him more as like a brother than a love interest. So yeah, so that's how I saw the TV Glow. Not for me, but I am happy to give it at least a just barely positive, because the filmmaking and Justice Smith was fine in this. As much as I dislike him as an actor, he was pretty good. He has one scene at the very end of the movie, which I won't spoil, where he has to really act lots of emotions, and he does it well. So that's how I saw the TV Glow. Will you see this?
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Yeah, you should once it comes to it.
And I'm looking at young Justice Smith right now.
What's the kid's name?
Ian Foreman.
Yeah, okay, so Ian Foreman. Yeah, does he look like Justice Smith?
Not really, no. But I mean, whatever, right?
Yeah, it is whatever. It is whatever. It just, I mentioned it just because it threw me off a little bit. I'm like, wait, we're now older?
The Coffee Table is a 2022 Spanish black comedy, but it is being released this year in North America. It is directed...
Spanish Spain or Mexican? Or do you know?
I think Spanish.
Okay.
I'll
look it up.
It is called La Mesita del Comedor, and that's the Spanish title.
Yeah.
And you might have to search that up, because if you type in the coffee table, you're probably just going to get up pictures of a coffee table. I will just give the brief synopsis. Maria and Jesus are visiting a furniture store with their newborn baby. The name of the baby is Kayatenin.
Okay.
Yeah. In the hopes of buying a coffee table.
So there is a titular coffee table?
Yes, it opens up with them fighting over this coffee table. They're not too happy with each other. She hates the coffee table, but he loves it. Actually, we're not 100% sure if he loves it. He is more or less kind of looking at it like, okay, she hates it. I kind of like it. The salesman's talking me into it. I'm going to buy it just to spite her.
Okay.
And this baby is like 2 months old. They're having this fight over this coffee table. Finally, the coffee table is like a glass top.
Okay.
And the glass is held up by two legs. Angels, two women holding up the glass top, and then it's like and they're like gold, and then it's like a see-through table. It's I don't know, I wouldn't own it. It's kind of gaudy, it's kind of ugly, but so he brings it home. There's actually a funny part where you see him like having to drag it up the stairs because it's super heavy. Apparently, the glass is supposed to be like unbreakable.
Okay. Is it expensive, or does it feel expensive?
I think it's supposed to be expensive, but they get a deal or whatever. Or maybe it's not a deal because the salesman's really trying to sell them.
Got it.
Also, in the building, they're in their apartment building. There is a neighbor. It's a woman and her dog and her daughter. And her daughter is 13 years old and has a major crush on the lead character, who is
the father.
The father, who's in like his 40s, right? And she has a crush on him, and it's a little unclear as to what is going on. Like she corners him at one point and says like, when are you going to tell your wife about us? Like,
oh no,
like, don't you love me? Like, and she's like, you keep liking my Instagram photos. And he's like, I think I liked one photo. And she's like, no, you keep liking them. We're not entirely sure who's telling the truth and who isn't. She does seem a little crazy, but I don't know. Anyways. So this movie is something really awful happens, and
Okay.
the rest of the movie is the aftermath of that. This is like a movie. It's
Okay,
in
so a tragic thing happens,
yeah,
and
it's in
then
real time.
okay.
Besides the part of the beginning, the movie's in real time. Something bad happens, and his brother and his brother's new girlfriend are coming over for dinner, and then the bad thing has happened, and now him and his wife have to have a dinner, and the bad thing has happened, and he has to live with it, and it's really awkward, right? It's one of these like tense, like the whole thing is tense. Like, what is he going to do about it? What is he going to do? Like, the truth is going to come out, kind of thing, and I don't think the movie is funny enough to
Okay.
be a dark comedy. I don't think it's horror enough to be a horror. I don't think the dialogue or the conversation is good enough to recommend this movie to anyone. Like, if I said, like, I didn't even feel the tension so much that I think this movie tried. I think it failed in building the tension. So for everyone else, thank you for listening. I'm going to get into spoilers. If you don't want to be spoiled, you can tune out now. Thank you for listening. But I'm going to spoil basically what happens.
Okay.
The inciting incident, and then what happens. So I'm only spoiling it because I don't recommend it. And if you still want to watch it after I talk about it, then go ahead. I did spoil it to a few of my friends, and there was a couple of them that said, I really want to watch it. And I said, yeah, when I boil it down, it sounds a lot better than it actually is.
Does the baby die or something?
Yes, the baby dies. So she goes to the grocery store to buy dinner for his brother, who is coming over with his 18-year-old girlfriend, which is also weird.
Wow.
And which is something I want to talk about later. And he's walking around with the baby, and he's kind of like looking at the coffee table, and he trips, and the baby gets decapitated on the coffee table, which was supposed to be unbreakable, but it shatters and breaks and cuts the baby's head right off.
Okay.
So for like 15 minutes, like, it cuts back between her. See, I just laughed, and I shouldn't have. But between her at the grocery store looking at mangoes and stuff, back to him standing there covered in blood, holding part of the baby, and blah blah blah. So he also did cut his hand really bad.
Okay.
So when his wife gets home, she thinks it's just like this cut, and that's why there's blood on the carpet. So what he did with the baby is he wrapped the baby back up and went and put it in bed. And when she got home, she said, "See, it sounds like it's like a dark comedy, but it's just not. Just doesn't work." And so when she gets home, she says he's in bed, but the head rolled underneath.
And he didn't collect it back to put it back in the bundle?
He
Okay.
didn't have the heart to reach under and grab it. So it's under one of the chairs in the living room the whole time they're having dinner.
With the husband, wife, brother
and the brother's
girlfriend?
18-year-old girlfriend.
Okay.
And so essentially, it's the rest of the movie is just him sitting at dinner, not talking, sweating, and everyone around him is basically talking about the baby, talking about motherhood, talking about how happy they must be, talking about like this and that. And finally, like, he goes to the bathroom, and his brother comes, and he's like, "What's wrong?" And he tells his brother, and his brother says, "Don't worry about it. Let's, like, not don't worry about it, but like, let's figure this out. We gotta tell your wife. Like, he's a good brother. He's like, let's handle this. Like, whatever." Well, while they're in the bathroom, the 13-year-old girl comes and knocks on the door, and the wife opens it, and she says, "Not right now. We're talking. We're having a dinner. It's not a good time for you to come in." And the little girl's holding her puppy, like the dog, and I bet you can guess where it's going. But
the dog grabs the head.
Yeah.
Okay.
But before that, the reason she's let into the apartment is because she says, your husband kissed me on the elevator. And so the wife brings him in.
Do
and
we think that's true, or is she just saying that?
We don't know,
Okay.
honestly, because that's the least of his worries at that point, because
right.
the dog, he comes out and she says, is this why you've been acting so weird? Is this why you've been acting so weird? And the dog brings out the head. The wife bends down, picks up the head, and then immediately jumps off the balcony and kills herself.
Oh my God.
And the husband immediately follows suit and jumps off the balcony following her. And then the movie ends with the surviving people, like the brother, them, and
the
the
girlfriend and the
ambulance
neighbor
are coming, and they're down, and yeah.
Wow.
So
okay.
yeah, I mean, it like sounds kind of like it might be interesting, but it's just there's no depth to the movie in my opinion, and there's no dark comedy, and yeah. So here's what I had a feeling by the end of it what that this movie is trying to say something different than I've killed my baby. No, I think that this might be an allegory about a pedophile who is hiding it from his family. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because he's sitting there and because there's the 13-year-old girl, there's the 18-year-old. It's like creepy.
Yeah. Why would they include that and the ages being that way?
Exactly. And I think it's a man who is like a pedophile or done something with a younger girl or something like that, and he is hiding it. And yeah, it's just this. So that was my kind of takeaway. Maybe I'm wrong. I'd love to hear from others who have seen the movie.
So Where Evil Lurks is still way, way, way better.
I gave this movie like 2.5 stars, I think.
Okay.
Like the only the only horror part of this is
suicide and the killing of the baby.
And the suicide you don't see, and the killing of the baby, like, you don't really see. You hear it, and then you kind of see the head, like a shadow of the head under the table.
Okay.
And he's holding the body, but the body's wrapped in a cloth, right? It's almost like could be PG-13 if it wasn't dealing with such a heavy subject
matter, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So people. So did Anderson mention who on the? Oh no, Avery did, right?
No, I don't think anyone on the film involved. They were talking about I saw the TV glow.
You're right.
This was my friends over at Cinematics, and a couple other people. Ken Cunningham, I think, from the Cinematics group, and a couple other people watched it. Ken Cunningham, yeah, he posted on Facebook. He said, "My wife walked in while I was watching this." And I commented and I said, you know what? You would have been better off if you just switched it to porn. Like, yeah. Like if you were just like, but anyways, so that's the coffee table.
Okay.
And you know what? If it sounds interesting to you, I would maybe just, because like maybe watch the first half an hour and then watch the last 20 minutes.
Yeah, I think I'm still going to throw it on and just have it on the screen, and just so I can see those parts. Just so I can be a part of the conversation.
To our mothers who are listening right now, please skip this movie.
I hope my mom's not.
I hope our moms actually skipped me talking about it. I hope they heard something about the dead baby and they just turned it off.
Yeah. All right, well then let's wrap this up.
Wrap this sucker up.
So
we will be back soon.
Yeah. So I don't know. Well, so when do you think we'll post this one and the next one? Like,
I will post this one tomorrow, and then the Sunday one probably Monday or Tuesday. I'm guessing at the latest.
So so you should. So if you're listening to this relatively when it came out, there should be another episode right behind it.
Yeah, and we are probably going to talk a lot about Furiosa. It's been my most anticipated movie for a couple years now.
Yeah, it's been a long time in the making. There was like, I'll read about it. There was all this back and forth between George Miller and the studio and Wright. Yeah. So yeah. We'll do that. So the very last thing I want to mention before we close is coming soon next weekend. There isn't a huge wide release, but there's a couple of small things that at least one or two I want to see. So The Dead Don't Hurt comes out next weekend. And that is Viggo Mortensen, written, directed, starring. He's awesome. He's one of the best living actors probably. So going to check that out.
Yeah, I agree. I'm glad you said that. He is one of my He is one of my favorite actors.
Him and like I put like him, Daniel Day-Lewis, in similar heights of just how freaking good they are. So
I'm gonna make you watch one of his older movies at some point.
You should. I need to. I need to have that pushed on me.
If I win this box office draft thing, then I'm gonna make you watch it.
Cool. Yeah. And then one of these days you got to get to New Order.
Yes.
And then the other thing that comes out next weekend, I know people listening have probably seen trailer for this because the trailer's been provocative. In a Violent Nature, it looks like a Freddy movie or a Jason. It actually looks like a Jason movie.
I got the vibe The Collector. You probably never saw any of those movies,
but I remember that mask.
The mask kind of looks similar. But anyways,
so it's In a Violent Nature, hour and a half, looks like crazy good horror. And I think you saw it. You said it had really high ratings on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, 91% already.
Yeah, so
a lot of these have already screened at.
These were at
Sundance or TIFF.
Sundance or whatever the Austin one
TIFF.
is, South by Southwest.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Speaking of horror,
dude, you gotta stop. I gotta go.
All right. Thanks everyone for listening. Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, our link tree. Thank you to all our Patreon listeners. Again, we thank you so much. We are gonna start doing stuff for that. We are gonna have a Furiosa spoiler. Just for Patreon listeners. And,
thank you. Appreciate any of those that subscribe to the Patreon and anyone that listens to the podcast. Thanks a lot.
We appreciate it. Share and have a good night.
Thanks, man. Hit me with the outro.